Hi, my name is Kirk Rickerd, and I'm the Director of Operations for Builtmore Contract Manufacturing. We are a subsidiary of the Shyft Group, and today we are going to dissect the build of some trucks that we assemble for Isuzu Motors. We're starting in Plant 12, where we build the F-Series Class 6 and 7 units, and we also build the N-Series electric vehicle for them. After Plant 12, of the F-Series truck being a Class 6 and 7. And then the axles go on loosely here as well. When we go to the next station, we'll see the U-bolt multiples that tighten them down. But here we're just getting the axles setting in place. So in this station, one of the critical safety torque items is the U-bolts. You can see the machine that he's using is going to capture the torque data of all four corners of the U-bolt, and that starts by scanning a truck in by VIN number. And so in the future we can always go back and look at that torque value, and again, because it's electronically captured, we'll know at the point that it left this station that it achieved the proper torque value, and again, it falls in that safety critical category. All right, in this station, I'll point out that the truck is now flipped over, so you see the axles are facing down now, and this is where a lot of the air system is going to get installed. So right here, we've got one of the rear air tanks for the brake system right here. They also have air system up front that they're installing in this station as well. All right, if you look right behind me here, you're gonna see that this is where the engine goes in. Cummins engines on these Class 6 and 7s. This is the first major component. This truck, you also get the DPD installed, the big exhaust system down below here. The D-ring here, which is when the cab is set, and it's a tilt cab, that's what's going to lock that cab down into position, so it's safe when you're driving it. One other item that goes in here is the torsion bar. This item is what the cab will actually tilt on, and allows it to tilt back and lock in to the mechanism we mentioned earlier. Also, the cooling package goes on at this station. So a lot going on here in this station as the truck starts to come together. At this next station is where we finally put tires on it and get it down so that it can roll up and down the line. The tires go on using multiples, just like the U-bolt multiple we saw earlier. So you got to hit it twice. It's a 5-unit wheel multiple, a 10-bolt pattern on the tires, on the wheels. And so you hit the first 5, it rotates a few degrees, and then you hit the second 5. And just like mentioned before, there's just a built-in quality where if the process is not followed after you scan the truck, if you tried to bring the neck truck forward and scan it and do it, the system would actually stop it and say, nope, you need to complete that process on the previous truck. The front of the truck, they're now hooking up a lot of the oil cooler components to the bottom of the engine and just getting that engine set all tied in together. When the engine goes in, there's a lot that's left undone, and then it just continues to get piecemealed together as it progresses down the line. At this station, this is primarily the cab set. So you can see the guys right now are actually getting ready to put the stabilizer arm in, which is, it's a temporary movement on the left there that keeps that cab safe from tipping all the way forward until they can get the permanent fixtures in place on a completed truck. The feature right here, this is one of our sub-assemblies that takes a fair amount of work before it comes line side. It's the steps and a lighting package all in one. So that's done kind of in the center of the plant, as a lot of our sub-assemblies are. They're done in the middle and then feed out towards their line. But again, as soon as they get the cab on, they'll be mounting both driver's and passenger side steps. Again, the Class 6 and 7 is a pretty tall truck, so there's a step to get up in it. We're gonna walk around to the front and we're gonna see where the cab is actually coming together. The grill, the cowl, and everything that kind of trims out the truck and makes it look like a finished unit. So you can see right now they're mounting that front bumper on as we speak. They've already mounted the cowl and it's tilted up out of the way. Underneath that cowl is where like the AC gets hooked up, as well as some of the other cooling lines for the interior of the cab. When they finish that bumper, they'll move to putting the grill on. And one of the other components that gets installed in this station is also the mud flaps. Also just trims out the cab and gives it a finished look. And that is about the last of the assembly portion before we get into fluids and testing. These guys are putting the fluids in, the diesel, the coolant. You can see the hoses hooked up and that's just kind of the final steps to make sure that the truck is safe to put it in the DVT booth and do its final testing. So I want to point out the tack clock that this building uses up here. You can see they got 6 minutes left right now, and right behind that clock you can see the DVT, and probably getting loud, but you can hear the truck winding up right now. So DVT stands for dynamic vehicle testing, and so when it's in that booth, it's up on a roller, and it's basically a road test right inside of a booth, and it's going to check for brake timing and horsepower and fuel trim and all sorts of things, just to make sure that everything that the built-in quality confirms actually passes when it gets into road test mode. So he'll know as soon as he comes to the end of that test that everything is good to go on this truck. And that'll be the last phase before we walk around the DVT and actually see the final inspection stage. So up here is where the final inspection takes place. So despite all the built-in quality that I've mentioned on the line and the DVT, we still bring the truck up and put hands on every component of the truck twice. So as part of the partnership with Isuzu, it comes out of the DVT booth and it goes straight to Builtmore employees, and they do 100% inspection. And then when they're buying off on the truck, the next step will be they'll hand it off to an inspector from Isuzu, and they'll do another buy-off. The last thing I want to point out on the F-Series that we don't do in the second building we're going to go to is front-end alignment, and we'll take a look at that process here in a minute. But up here, they have a checklist that they're going through and just doing a final validation of everything on this truck before it has its final buy-off from Isuzu to Builtmore. So that is kind of the end of the diesel process for the Class 6 and 7, or the F-Series as we refer to them as, with Isuzu. We're going to head over to Plant 5 next and take a look at the N-gas operation. A big difference there is it is N-gas, it's N-Series, but gasoline versus Cummins. And so right now we're building 30 of these F-Series per day in Plant 12. Plant 5 has built as high as 90 units per day. So let's head out. also, the way that they're packaged from Japan, we also have the axles and the bumper is brought down below. This is exactly how it's received in the C containers from us. So in the F-Series assembly plant, the axles are a domestic product that are shipped in, where on the N-gas side, the axles are a Japanese part, and so it's all part of the KD lotted material that is brought in. So here's another one of the major differences between the two plants. The N-Series, the frames come in pre-assembled, like these ones here. And we saw when we were in plant 12, the frames actually being assembled together in pieces. So domestic versus Japanese built component. So this is where the assembly process starts for the class 3, 4, and 5 units. This is the stack of frames that we just looked at coming off from the truck and where the assembly process starts. Just like in the other facility, you'll notice that they're upside down right now on the frames for ergonomic purposes for the operators. So the first station, really just putting on bracketry that's going to hold a lot of the assembly components, the brake lines, the fuel lines as it goes down the assembly process. The next station right here is where the leaf springs are going to be installed. This is also where the truck will receive a stamped VIN number onto the frame itself. Then we're going to keep going here to the next station. You'll notice up above a lot of the orange Apex tooling. This is the safety critical items that are captured to a certain torque value, and all of these machines are activated by this paperwork right here. So you see the paperwork here is scanned. That will activate the equipment and ensure that the torque value is achieved. At this next station here, the large orange boxes you're seeing are for the multiples that are used for the U-bolts, but same concept as the previous station. You scan the truck in when it rolls into station, and that activates the machinery to achieve torque. From a built-in quality aspect, if an operator was going to skip a step in the process and they would bring the next truck forward and scan it in, it would know that the equipment had not ran all of its functions, and it would stop you and say, no, hey, you can't do this, you didn't finish the first truck. So again, built-in quality, very important, especially on the safety critical items. You'll notice a big difference in the truck because this station that we just looked at with the U-bolt multiples, the truck is still in its upside down position. And the very next station, if we can get up here, you'll notice it's right side up. And so the straps and the big yellow machines up top, that is actually what is going to pick that whole chassis up and rotate it over so that it is sitting in the right orientation for the remainder of the build. Once it is right side up, the very first item that's going to go in is the engine and transmission. The engine and transmission are pre-built together so that it's just one pick and set it in all at once. At this next station, you'll notice they're also running a multiple. This is the wheel multiple, so it tightens all 6 of the lugs at once. Again, it is telling you whether the proper torque was achieved. And so the operator, when they're doing this, will put it on. They're going to activate the machine, and it'll give them a green light. I'll point out that actually assures that the proper torque was achieved. And any of the circles around the outside will tell it with a red light if it's not achieved. As long as that safety critical torque is achieved, then they're good to go. At this next station, now it's on tires from the previous station. Now we're going to set the cab in. So you can see the cab's actually coming down right now as we speak. Just like what you saw over in plant 12, there's a torsion bar on the front that the cab sits on, which allows it to tilt forward. And the backside, you got a safety chain there that's stopping that cab from tilting too far until it's fully assembled and in a safe condition to be set down. After the cab is set, the next station is going to be fluid fill. Kind of a neat piece of equipment we have in this building is a turntable. So this building is pretty small in footprint. It'll actually lift the truck up and you can rotate it sideways. Makes it easier on these longer chassis lengths to actually make that corner. After these fluids are in, it'll go up here where the gas tank is at. So again, this is kind of the last major difference between the buildings. In the diesel plant that we were at first, it's actually a fuel pump, and so the fuel is pumped in. This, because it's gas, the difference from a safety standpoint from combustible versus flammable, we're only allowed to bring so much gas into the building at a time. And so then after this rotates, this truck will receive the gasoline that is needed, and then it also, at that last station,